In the last lesson, we went over how to do collision detection so that we could check when an alien spaceship was touched by a laser beam, and then we remove the laser beam and the alien spaceship and move them off the screen. When that happens, we also want to make sure that we update the score. So the way it's going to work is that you're going to get 1 point for every alien spaceship that is shot down, and you're going to lose 1 point every time an alien spaceship moves off the bottom of the screen. But you have to remember that you can't go below 0. So just because you're subtracting -1, you have to do an if statement check to make sure that if you go below 0, you just print out 0, not a negative score. So to do that, we're going to add some lines of code, and we're going to add one thing that is slightly different. So we're going to have this score global variable in game scene, and we initially set it to 0. We're also going to add this variable called score text, and it's going to keep track on the screen of what our score is. You will notice that it's slightly different because we're not referring to a color palette. That's because the color palette was used to make sure that we didn't have a transparent background with our text, because we were printing text on white, and we wanted to make it a color. If you don't put a color palette in, it will print out white text and a transparent background, which actually is really good for us in this case because we have that starry black background. So now we just put the width and the height of our text. We're going to clear the score. We're going to move our cursor actually to the top left-hand corner. And then we just move it down slightly. And we're going to print the word score and then whatever is currently in the score, which at the very beginning is 0. So this is going to be our text that's going to print out our score. Since we have this, we're going to have to remember that we need to add it to our initial rendering, and we're going to put it into square brackets for a list, and we're going to put that at the very top. So now we're printing our score, all the lasers, all the ships, or sorry, the one ship, all the aliens, and our background in that order. The next thing we need to do is, if an alien goes off the bottom, we need to subtract 1 point. So that happens, if you remember, each frame we're moving the alien down. So if we actually end up inside this if statement and the alien moves off of the screen, then we moved it off the screen and we put 1 back at the very top. We're now going to subtract 1 from the score. But we also have to have an if statement saying if this variable becomes less than 0, then just set it to 0. So that makes sure that we don't have a negative score. And then what we're going to do is we're going to clear our text and reprint it. So you can reprint just your text so that you don't have to refresh your entire screen. So that's useful. The other time where we're going to need to update our text is if we actually do shoot an alien. So remember, each frame we were checking if a laser touched an alien, and if this did happen, this collision did happen, we played a sound and then we put 2 aliens back up at the top. So when that happens, we're going to add 1 to the score, and then we reprint again. Once we're done this, you'll notice that in the rendering, every time the game loop happens, we're not rendering this text here, so we just render the sprites that are moving around the screen, not the text. So just the lasers, our one ship, and the aliens. So that's how we actually print our text and update our game score over and over